Good afternoon, BSG. We're back, and right up next is Valkyrie Profile Covenant of the Plume by our very own Sniperwave. Sniper, are you ready for it?
If only. I don't think I can be ready after competing with a run like what just happened. I don't think I have a single chance at showing off something
It's
similar, but we can at least give it a try.
yeah. Let's at least try to make it a little interesting for chat.
So yeah, you might have noticed that I do not have a webcam, so I figured I'd put the a cat jam with the old BSG venue for good measure to fill out the blanks.
Yeah, amazing.
But yeah, let's just take it away real quick. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. So yeah, it's been a while since I've ran this at BSG. I think the last time was BSG 33, which was at the start of last year.
Yeah.
That was definitely a good showing as well. And with me, I have Zeta. I chose him because I have been working with him the closest for the longest amount of time as well, since we've both been doing scheduling forever, really.
Yeah, I think start of 2018, I basically took over scheduling from our very own crew, and well, you did scheduling with Rule even already, so it was kind of natural that I joined you guys, and it kind of went smooth. But yeah, Valk Profile has only, I think it's like been on BSG like 2 or 3 times in total.
I think this is the third or the fourth showing, yeah. I've definitely had a run at this at Annual 2018 and 19. Yeah, wait, this is the fourth, actually. Yeah. To explain the meat and potatoes of this game, this is very comparable to other tactics RPGs like Fire Emblem and Final Fantasy Tactics, for example. The thing that's most notable, though, is the way the combat in general works. So the way it works is every single character is bound to one of the ABXY buttons, and pressing a button lets them do an attack. Now, the amount of attacks that your character has depends on the weapon they hold and their class. Mages only have a single attack. Nice, we actually didn't get stunned, that's good. I've not had a practice run or a marathon run where I haven't been stunned, by the way. It feels really good to not lose 15 seconds on that.
Yay for good RNG.
I guess, this is a good sign for sure. Also, in terms of the estimate, I cannot guarantee anything. However, I do have 2 backup slots ready in case I need them.
Okay, well, that's always good to hear as a scheduler.
Yeah, as a scheduler as well, I came prepared.
So yeah, I mean, the reason I like you to show this off, honestly, is I know how much time you put into this. Like, you have grinded this game so much to get to it where it is right now.
Yeah, certainly. Now, I personally don't think this is the best run to show off from a BSG perspective. The thing I'd like to show off more would be a Katam co-op run with Kinnan, but, you know, with the whole situation and all, I don't really think we should be doing so.
No, I mean, the Corona thing just makes that kind of a hard run to make happen, but that, honestly, that is a more iconic run for, I think, both you and Kinnan.
Yeah, certainly. It's also the reason I got introduced to BSG in the first place. So, how that happened, it's actually really funny, is back in March of 2016, I figured I would pick up speedrunning as well, after being a fan of it for the majority of a decade. And after that, I was looking for streams, and I found this Kinnan11 guy, who is currently doing Katam as well. Now, after doing that and picking up a bit of the game as well, I just figured I'd DM him since I knew he was in and around the vicinity of where I live. And from there we kind of just started doing co-op runs on a whim. And eventually he just introduced me to BSG, which, you know, currently has turned out to be quite something, really.
Yeah. I mean, I remember the first time I met you. I know, it was my very first BSG, I think.
A moment of pain.
At that point, we just hang out and yeah, that's what happened at most of the BSGs. You know, just hanging out, having fun, all that kind of stuff. It was good times. I remember the first time you guys did the Derby co-op run, and I was like, wait, that game had co-op? I had no clue.
I think it's for the better that some people forget, honestly. The amount of input delay you get in Gatam co-op is actually kind of insane, because not only do you have the delay from the Game Boy players that you have to do twice, there's also the link cables.
Yeah,
That,
I remember you guys showing me that at like one of the annuals. Like, it has a lot of delay, and I was like, is it that bad? And then I think Gideon showed me like, okay, I'm gonna press the jump button now. Watch the screen. And it took like a good few seconds. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, it definitely was something. Speaking of Katam, in Annual 2019, we actually had to change out our link cable because the other one died earlier that year. And as it turned out, the interference from the whole setup was so bad that we couldn't be that the game itself just started desyncing, so we actually couldn't fire off the run, which I'm still like kind of sad about.
Yeah, I mean, I remember that moment, and I remember you guys practicing like 2 minutes before that, and everything was fine. And then as soon as you started to run, it was like not working, and you guys kept on trying, and at some point you just turned around and was like, Zeta, gas backups ready, now!
Yeah, it's definitely been a wild ride for sure. I think overall BSG in terms of scheduling has been a wild ride between what happened before you entered, where it was just a bit unruly to say, since back then the scheduling was done by organizing, and for Annual 2017, which is the first big one I have been a part of, we had Cruel, Box, and me do all of the scheduling, and we just found so much chaos in the process that while we were looking after Annual, we just figured out, hey, we should have a new head scheduler, we should have a staff on that position. And from there, I started getting along with Zeta, and it's been pretty good ever since in terms of scheduling.
Yeah, we changed up our whole voting system. I remember Annual 18. I hadn't realized the submissions would super close to like the reveal of the schedule, and I remember it being like something like 3 weeks, but yeah, we needed a few days to get everything ready, and then we had like, what was it, 12 days to do all the voting, the scheduling, and all that. That was a wild ride, to say the least.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we had 12 days to go from spreading the voting documents to presenting a preliminary schedule. There were some long nights for sure.
Yeah, I remember it being long and all that, but I also remember that during the event, like during Annual 2018, the very first shift, like I was on hosting and you were on audio, I think, or the other way around. And like the first run starts, people start, getting into the stream and checking the schedule, and like so many positive feedback was just posted. Like, this schedule is looking stacked, it's looking great, amazing schedule, and just the confidence boost I gained out of that, I was like, yes, we've done a great job in like 12 days.
Yeah, certainly. Especially one person that we also needs to shout out is Boxmeister. He was basically the third member of what is the scheduling team and what is the scheduling core now.
Yep. And then I think we went into 2019. We started inviting more and more volunteers to just help out with scheduling. Get the opinion of the community, voiced and shown in the schedules was something I valued. I went pretty smooth as well. Like, I think most people that joined us during one of the meetings, did a great job. Actually enjoyed being there. And then, Annual 19 came around. We made sure we had a bit more time. Like, I think we went from 3 weeks to like 3 months of preparation time.
Yeah, something along those lines. Now,
which was amazing. Oh, is this a boss fight?
Yeah, sort of. So this is one of the main mechanics of the game, which is using the Destiny Plume. Not only does the Destiny Plume give Wolfred a special ability from pluming a person, it also increases the stat of the plume person tenfold, as well as kill them for the rest of the game. And it also influences your ending, which is why we'll be doing C ending. So what happens in the game is as long as you do not use the Destiny Plume, you'll stay in path A. Once you use the Plume often enough, you'll drop down paths. And since we Plume a lot because it's extremely fast to do so, we end up in C ending. Now the reason it is called C ending is it used to be any %. So that's why this category really came to be. But yeah, that's the prologue as well. It's actually kind of it's a weird prologue because it explains most of the game mechanics, even though at Fight 1, the 2 characters you use are actually relatively weak. And afterwards, you don't really use anything they explain until later in the game as well, especially with these strategies. Okay, now I need to make sure. I think I just deleted the wrong file. I might be screwing myself over. Yeah, okay, that was the good file I deleted. So this game holds 3 save slots, and I really need to look which one I deleted over, because there are 2 fights in this game where if something goes wrong, it is a lot of time lost. And I'll need to look into doing everything. But yeah, this battle introduces the Sin mechanic. The way Sin works is after you kill an enemy, their health automatically goes to 0 no matter how much they had beforehand. And after that, every % of health that they originally had, you deal as damage afterwards, you gain 1 Sin. So say an enemy has 400 health, you reduce it to 0, and then excuse me. Pandemic and all. Sneezing is not good. But yeah, say you had 400 HP, you deal 400, and then you deal 40 more, then you'll get 10 Sin afterwards. And every battle has a certain Sin requirement. Now, getting enough Sin not only prevents a punishment, but it also has 3 tiers of rewards. Now, the first one is at 100% Sin, which in this case would be 50. And then if you get 150%, you'll get extra rewards, and if you get 200%, you'll get even more rewards. And balancing out the rewards with the effort it takes to get Sin has been a very big part of routing the game. In all 3 endings. Really.
Uh-oh. Your character is taking a beating, man. Hopefully, they won't die.
Luckily.
Dying is bad, I've heard.
Yeah, dying doesn't really happen, especially now. The only thing that can go wrong is that Sharifa dies turn 1, which is the archers we have. It's fairly rare to happen, even though it did happen in the last marathon run I did last week. But we don't talk about that. That was a...
That's something you want to forget.
Yeah, that was quite the show, really. Still an underestimate. Doesn't matter at the end. But yeah, there's a safety strat we take here. What can happen is that this swordsman here attacks you from the side and causes a stun. And with a stun, you cannot retaliate. Now, in the risky strat, if that happens, your run is just over and you reset and you call it a day. Now, if we would have gotten stunned, getting knocked up by the firestorm actually resets the stun. So this is basically a small safety strat to do in the marathon. It's really comfy. Also, this swordsman in particular can drop 2 things. One of it is the Viking sword, and the second one is a Union plume. And depending on what we get, we need to adapt. And we got the Viking sword, luckily. If it didn't drop, we would have to buy one from the shop and equip it later on. It's not that big of a deal, but it definitely requires a bit of attention. But yeah, sheesh. But yeah, the reason I chose this webcam thing as well is we had a lot of good moments at the original annual venue, specifically.
Yeah, absolutely. I recall the first annual. Like, I wasn't even staff at that point. I was merely a volunteer, and I got in at like 1 p.m. Like, crew was like, yeah, you're welcome starting 1 p.m. So I made sure I was there, and then all the equipment was laid. We basically had everything set up besides the equipment. And I remember just playing board games with people, like sitting at the campfire. So many good things. I remember Indy, like our good German friend. He went to get some lumber for the campfire.
What did you expect?
And he gets back and he walks up to both Sniper and me because we were standing outside just talking a bit, and he said to us in Dutch that he got some lumber, And we look at each other and we don't recognize his voice automatically. And we turn around and it's like Indy's standing there smiling with like the biggest smile I've seen. I was like, what? How did you learn that? Turns out that someone actually taught him how to say it in Dutch whilst getting back to the venue.
Actually, to this day, don't remember who taught him to do that.
I think it was Niana. I think Niana went with him and she actually taught him how to do it.
Alright, so this is one of the few safety saves we're making. Every time I practice, something else somehow breaks in this run. It's really interesting.
Solid game?
Yeah, solid game, but it's very dependent on luck. Even though I would say, between all the runs, I think this is definitely the most consistent. And if not, it's still the best showcase for marathons. So, in the last fight as well, from the Sin Reward, we got Ambrosias. And these Ambrosias permanently increase a character's health by 100. Now, using both on Wilfred actually makes it so that the target the archers choose changes from Wilfred to Sharifa, and we do need that to manipulate the AI just a little bit in terms of positioning. Also, this fight is one of the few that are completely split depending on what happens here. If I manage to crit the swordsman, this entire route goes to become a lot more risky and might require a backup or two, but we got lucky. And man, speaking of that campfire, oh boy.
Yeah, I remember like a good bunch of us standing outside at some point. Like, we had Seven Sins over. Many of you may know him. He used to be a big speedrunner. He's now a streamer that does a lot of Final Fantasy. Like, if you love Final Fantasy, he's your guy. But yeah, he was doing donation reading, and apparently it was kind of confusing for him how our system works, because in the Netherlands we pay with euros, so the donations are, you know, done in euros. But something went wrong. Like, I think we used the back end of the GDQ system, which is in dollars, and that confused Seven Sins. So the entire group standing outside at the campfire did a like €5 donation each of like with the text #campfire.
#campfire.
We told someone told Seven Sins like wait with reading until all of us are back inside. So we get inside and he starts reading them, and like the first one goes right, then he says dollars, and like we correct him to euros, so he's like, oh. And then I think after like a few donations, it was like dollars, euros, real money. And I believe that real money thing just stick with us. It was glorious.
It was definitely the moment. I've had a lot of good moments at the campfire, both just making the fires themselves, which is just always a fun thing to be doing. As long as you know what as long as you know what you're doing, it's definitely one of the more fun activities.
Definitely. But yeah, I mean, donation reading is a special thing. If you're not used to it, like seeing a dollar sign but having to read out euro, and yeah, it confuses you. But I also remember that Seven Sins at the very first annual event had set up his very own stream in the practice room. Like, he brought a laptop, he brought a webcam, he had like an entire setup just standing there. He had his own spot in the practice room that no one touched. And he was just sitting there playing his games, talking to his stream, inviting people over to like, hey, you want to do a Link to the Past, Rando? Come sit next to me, we'll play together. Or, you know, I think he even started learning Super Metroid at that point by our very own Elpis, who taught him that, like, live on his stream. Great moments.
And all of chat mentioning the campfires at 2018 as well. Those are definitely some memories. So 2018 is a very, very special marathon for me, in the sense that sleep didn't exist. Both due to me being the head of first aid, and also because I was one of the few people who wasn't infected with something we would like to dub BSGBs.
Yeah. Oh, that was something.
I think you were patient 0, weren't you, Zeta?
I think Captain was actually patient 0. Funny enough, like, Captain wasn't feeling well and me at the same day. that Monday evening we were playing like a lot of board games. I had quite a few wine jumps because once I start a bag of wine jumps I can't stop. That's a me problem, by the way. But so I wake up the next morning not feeling well, and the first thing I think is I probably had too much wine gums. That's like the first thing that pops in my head, and I was like, it's whatever, it'll pass. Turns out it didn't. Captain was already sick as well. So it's been like a day, and then the Wednesday has come by. No one else got sick, so we're like, it's probably, all fine. And then Thursday morning, I wake up and like, it's sort of this panic in the entire building. I had no clue what was going on. And I think it was Indy who showed me, like, he had a notebook with, like, names of people that are confirmed sick at that point, or ill, or, whatever you want to call it. And it's like, the first thing I think is, like, my schedule is ruined.
It was quite something on the first day. Since we were both really involved with scheduling, eventually what happened is we kind of split up what we needed to do. I was mostly busy finding volunteers, and Zeta was fixing the games.
Yeah.
I was not just doing shifts myself as well. I was still on first aid together with Dark Gaku, who was the other first aider who was in good health.
Yeah.
At some point, I ended up doing both tech, audio, and first aiding in a single shift. It was quite a moment.
Yeah, I remember, like, I think Bazzy told us before as well, like, he did an insanely long shift because he just had, well, there was no one else, so he just did it. Like, all the volunteers that were still in good health, they all, like, did that extra step. They all, went the extra bit for us, and that was really heartwarming. I remember we had one of the volunteers making like an insane big pan of soup for everyone, like making sure everyone has some.
Oh man, I remember going for the supermarket and just getting a boatload of stock just to make soup for everyone.
Yeah.
That was such a moment. But it's moments like that where you really show that as a community, like the fact that we kept that marathon going is actually really impressive in hindsight.
I see Yes are mentioning it, like. I remember that was the annual that we had a huge ass tent in like the yard of the scouts building, like to get more sleeping spaces, and people that were there had no clue what was going on inside the building.
Yeah, it was quite something.
Yeah, and then, I mean, fixing the schedule was sort of like, okay, who's up, who's not sick, who can do his run.
Who can
funny
volunteer.
enough, and this has been a thing that still cracks me up to this day. Like, my own run of Bastion was planned on the Saturday of that marathon, because at that point I wasn't sure if I would get days off and all that, so... But I was planned on Saturday, and... Yeah, well, Thursday was, at some point, we had close to no one. And I remember, like, Yume Tsubasa being able to do his famous Rosenquetschlettenfrönstachel, which is on in, like, tomorrow. I believe it's, like, 24 hours from now that he'll be doing that run. And I asked him, like, can you do that run? Like, because it was sort of a backup. He was like, yeah, I can, but I need some time to prep for that. I was like, sure. How long do you need? He's like, half an hour or something. So I was like, okay, what are we gonna do? And someone just mentioned to me, why don't you do Bastion? And I was like, I haven't practiced in like the entire week. He's like, just do it. It's better than nothing. And that is the only time in BSG history that I've managed to go underestimate with that game. For some reason, every time it was scheduled at a regular event, I managed to mess up one of the tricks so that I went overestimate by like a few minutes. But that one, I was just... I sat down and did what I had to do, and it just happened.
I think a few of the funnier parts for me during that marathon as well was me on 2 hours. I took 2 hours of sleep. I woke up at 2 a.m. and then I needed to do a run at 4. Now, it wasn't just any ordinary run. No, it was a 6-hour long Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Explorers of Skyron on like no sleep, a good amount of stress, and on the comfiest couch ever. Like to this day, I have no idea how I haven't fallen asleep mid-run there. It is actually kind of an achievement. Like it was 4:15 in the morning when we started that. I think before I slept for those 2 hours, I was awake for nearly 24 as well. It was not good. And then after that, I was asleep for like 2 hours. I woke up because in the tent somebody was about to be intimate with the toilet as well. And from that, I woke up anyway. I helped them out, and then the first thing I heard was, "Yo, Sniper, we're out of volunteers for hosting. Can you fill in for a second?" That's just the whole marathon just went like that from the moment the BSGB started going off.
I'm still impressed that so many people went that little bit extra for, you know, even people who were visiting for the very first time. I remember Mr. Mean Mustache, like, he heard that stuff was going wrong at the venue, and I think he was scheduled for like the Friday to do his run. And at that point, he contacted Cruel, like, "Hey, is everything all right at the venue and stuff?" And Cruel's like, "Well, quite a few people are not feeling well. It's a bit stressful." And then I think he said, like, "Okay, I can come over earlier if you want, and I can help out." So he came over like a day early and just did a few hosting shifts just to make sure that, you know, the people that were still in good health would not actually overdo themselves. Which made him an absolute hero. And like, I think it was like 11 p.m. at some point. Like, I remember vaguely that it was 11 p.m. when I was walking towards him to just have a chat. He looks at me and he's like, "Go to bed. You look terrible." Apparently, a day full of like non-stop stress makes you extremely tired, extremely, you know, tired looking.
Agitated as well.
Oh, dude,
I definitely remember that my temper was a lot worse than it usually is.
I mean, after that, it like, I remember that at the final run of Animal 18 though, with Recold. Recold being back, you know, that was the easiest scheduling decision we have ever made, I think.
Yeah, pretty sure it's either that or this marathon. I think adding Jasper and Kroll are also definitely a free roll to say.
Yeah, but I mean, we had to get them to do it. Like, Recold actually submitted to BSG Animal 2018, and we started doing that scheduling process. I remember it, and like, okay, you know, so generally what we do for our final run is like, you want to have a good banger, you know, you want to go out with a bang. So if possible, we look for something that has some donation incentive going, so that, you know, it won't die down on donations for the final run. And I remember we looking and it's like, "Hey, Recold has a run that fits that description." And the first thing we say to each other is like, "Okay, Recold is our closer."
Yeah, done.
That was just set in stone from that moment on. And to this day, I'm still a little sorry for Nick _, who was part of that race, and the donations went so crazy that he had a lot of trouble focusing on the run.
Nice. All right, we actually got the range. I'm really happy to not do a Soul Crush there. So in this fight specifically, I am trying to go under 200 Sin in order to get punished. What that does is it spawns a Realm Stalker in place of one of the regular enemies. Now, the Realm Stalkers are really interesting in the fact that their AI functions a lot different from the enemy they replace. And in this case, it actually makes it so that we can kind of just walk past and kill the leader really fast, which is really good. Now, I hate saying this because I know I'm going to jinx it with like the marathon luck in the last few times I ran this. But there's about a 1 in 2 to 300 chance, I've seen it like 5 times since I started running, where the enemy starts attacking Sharifa and I'm just, you know, unlucky, we can say. If that happens, then I'm really happy I saved.
Uh-oh.
It's gonna be a banger when it happens, but it's extremely rare. So I have confidence that it'll go well. I think I got all the bad RNG out of the way recently. And I don't see him in chat. If you don't know who Bad RNG is, Bad RNG is also one of the people I've met through BSG. He's also a really chill guy overall, really.
Yes.
Definitely done a lot of good for BSG overall. Very chill person.
Yes. He also may have cursed like multiple of my runs.
I don't know which run it was, but I remember on one of the earlier BSGs, Bad RNG just walked into the runs and somebody got absolutely destroyed by encounters. I think that was I think that may have been an Octopath runner.
It wasn't me at that point, because I think like, is it earlier BSGs? I remember like he was at so many of the early BSGs, like when we were still in the awesome space.
That
But,
it could have been. Also, I feel like we could give a small timeline for scheduling. So what happened is when Zeta joined, really, like before Zeta joined, the scheduling was organizing does its stuff, votes, and then we find some games and make a schedule. It's not the hardest thing. But when Zeta joined, a lot of things actually changed. And I think you're the better one to tell your side of the story, since you are definitely a lot more in control than...
Yeah, because back in the day, the voting system, I felt like didn't have enough nuance to it. Like, it was either yes, no, or I don't really have an opinion.
How does it?
That's basically what the numbers were. And I felt like the yes side has, like, it needed a bit more difference. Like, sometimes I was like, in between yes and I don't really have an opinion, and as well as the I don't really have an opinion and the absolute hard no. So we decided to work on a system that worked a little better. From there on out, you know, we did the scheduling with still like mainly organizing me and whoever had time within staff and organizing. We did start inviting a few volunteers, I believe, at points. Then comes around 2019. You know, the system is there. Volunteers have been joining us quite a few times. We had quite a few people vote. I think we had 25 people in total vote for Annual 19.
I think we had
4?
26, and then 2 people cancelled at some point.
Yeah,
I definitely know we contacted 30.
A lot of people. So, and then after everyone has voted, we work with averages. Like, the closer your average is to the quote-unquote yes mark, you know, the more likely you are to get in the marathon. We had the entire schedule. Annual 19 started. Fantastic. Fantastic.
Hey, about that 1 in 200.
Uh-oh.
Imagine. Actually imagine.
Did you really?
Yeah, and I think I muscle memory past saving, so I guess there's improvising to do. Oh, Marathon, look, you filthy animal. Y'all start reviving. This will end up being fine.
So yeah, to continue the scheduling thing, like Animal 19 started, and at some point I remember like we running ahead of schedule really fast. I think we had 2 or 3 runs done, and we were already like half an hour ahead. So I was like, okay, we need to fix this. Just, you know, this has to be fixed.
Oh, by the way, I kind of fixed it. That was all intended. So, the way that works is the Union Plume, which is an item you can use to revive a fallen ally. It revives it in the space available in front of the character. Now, what the devs kind of maybe missed is that it doesn't account for height differences. So we basically get the cheat over Sharifa over the wall, kill another enemy in order to get 150% sin, and just wreck the leader right afterwards. Also, you saw the leader not move even though he wasn't paralyzed. We never crossed its aggro range, which means he never activates. So he kind of, I'd like to think that he just gave up after seeing what happened. He's like, "You're cheating. That's not fair."
Well, life's not fair.
But yeah, definitely one of the more fun strats in this game. It's also very nice to be able to hit people with the old 1 in 200 again.
Yep.
Always a good one.
I mean, but yeah, on the scheduling side, like, I remember Animal 19, we ran a lot of times ahead, then we fell behind. It was you know, a bit of a fluent thing, and I try to keep track of it as much as possible, but, you know, I need my sleep as well. So for everyone to understand, my basic morning on an annual day in the hotel was I wake up, I check what on which game we should have been on the schedule. I check which game was before it and after it. Then I check the stream, see which game is going on, how far, and then, you know, I calculate how far behind or ahead we are. Then I went, you know, to take a shower, walk downstairs, figure out what I had to do. Before I had breakfast. That was my daily routine. I had no one else backing me up. Like, Sniperwave was there, but, you know, he needed his sleep as well. If, like, Boxmeister would be on deck, or, you know, anyone else, I would just tell them, like, hey, I'm going to bed. You're in charge for the schedule right now. Just let me know what you change. I had no one else. I was the, like, quote-unquote, the only real scheduler at that point. Yeah. So after that event, I sat down with organizing, and I was like, I'd like to form a team, because it's a bit much for one person. They agreed upon that, we started doing interviews and all that, and from there on out, the scheduling team has formed, which has been a major difference in my life. Like, honestly, it was a team of 7 people, and they made my life so much easier. Like, we have people on call. I can just, you know, during a day, if I'm not on call, I can go outside. I can, for all I know, I can go, like, on a day trip to visit Sniperwave at his home or something. You know, this was all pre-corona, of course.
I mean, we've had scheduling shifts where we just held a barbecue. So
I mean,
during 2019, we actually Shuri and I visited Grumpmeister.
That was 2020.
Oh, was that? Actually, it was 2020. You're right. That was the at-home edition. That's the thing that happened. I'd like to forget that didn't happen. I definitely do prefer the in-persons a slight bit over the online. But yeah, the barbecue there ended up being kind of a disaster. They expected like 30 degrees Celsius, extremely good weather, all that good stuff, and then it was sunny out too when we got there. We gave Biscuit some treats. You know, the very nice previous runner Biscuit. Actually, a joy to meet him as well. But yeah, the moment we booted up the barbecue, we started seeing gray clouds, and the barbecue was on and it just started showering like we've never seen before. It was really crazy.
But yeah, those kind of things, it's really nice to be able to do that kind of stuff, you know. And the team has been a huge help. You know, Sniperwave as being one of the core members of the team, because, you know, he's been working with me for about 3 years now. It's always been a blast to do the scheduling, and it's always, you know, it's always hard. And but yeah, so we had an unfortunate dropout for his event, and I had to fix that like yesterday. So I contacted one of my fellow scheduling team members, Grumpmeister. Like, I remember talking with him about, you know, letting Biscuit do or speedrun at some point. And he's like, well, yeah, I could make him play Barney. And for some reason, we decided, like, I asked him, like, hey, isn't it an idea to let Biscuit do his very first speedrun at BSG Lustrum? Because, you know, he's been your support. And Barney is, like, the biggest BSG meme we've got. So that's why the previous run happened. Because, of course, Grumpmeister agreed.
Certainly.
And I think Ellie is happy about that as well. Her little boy got, you know, even more famous.
Pog dog. Yeah, I really do appreciate the way the team is handled since the inception, basically. It's been such a good help to not only have extra eyes and a fresh look on a lot of the runs, but also just having more opinions overall. Yeah. Like, you'll see things you've never noticed you did before.
Yep. So, for example, last year,
oh, wait.
We had both Splatoon 2 as a submission and Ink. Ink is like, I still think Ink is one of the most amazing runs to watch. It is so fast-paced, but you know, it's all about Ink. And for some reason, we made several drafts. Like at some point, we have a games list, and we start just drafting the schedule. And for some reason, it never occurred to us that Ink and Splatoon would actually go hand in hand. I don't know why, but
it just got completely skipped in our minds, really.
And I think it's like we had like several drafts made already, and we sat down with the entire team and we're like, okay, you know, it wasn't even a team at that point because it was an online team, but we sat down with like a group of people, like, okay, you know, next draft. And I remember that like at some point someone just said like, why aren't we putting Ink and Splatoon together? And that moment it just clicked. It was like, yeah, that's like the greatest idea ever.
It was just, wait, why haven't we done this in the previous drafts? We're actually idiots.
Yep. But next to game schedules, there's also volunteer schedules, which make it even harder because we do game schedule first, and then we try to schedule every volunteer into like, you know,
into either a game they like, or rather a game they don't dislike. So usually, what happens in the forums is we give people free games they really want to host and free games they really do not want to host, so we can work around that. Now, not only that, but we have to work with a schedule that between the runs and volunteer schedule, everyone gets 8 hours of sleep on a day, which usually might get rounded down to like 7.5 in case it needed to happen, but that's a rare occurrence. So what ends up with that is that sometimes we've been working on schedules for 4 hours and it's just like, oh, somebody canceled. Well, there goes our schedule. Now what?
Yep.
And what happened during 2018 specifically is that I vividly remember calling Zeta at like 11 at night already, like very, very late at least, just to say like, hey Zeta, this person canceled. We are kind of in deep trouble if we don't fix this. And the first thing that happens is I hear the Discord call notification go off like 5 seconds after, and he's like, okay, we fix this now.
Yeah. But yeah, the volunteers, it's kind of a puzzle at that point. Like, you want everyone to have enough sleep, but it's also, you know, keep in mind everyone's availability. Keep in mind, you know, potential co-commentary runs they are doing. It's at some point you just feel like, okay, we're never figuring this out, and then like 2 days later, it's like, oh, we figured it out. It's wonderful.
Yeah, how nice.
I like when I joined BSG, I had no clue how scheduling was done. I mean, Cool had something on the back of his hoodie saying "head of scheduling," and you know, he was like a god to me at that point. You know, now that I've picked up the trade as well, I'm like, yeah, I understand how he did it. It's pretty doable.
It's also really insane how between me, Zeta, and Boxmeister, we have about a combined 120 marathons we've scheduled so far. That's actually really wild to me how much it actually has been.
Yep, but yeah, if I think back, you know, BSG had so many good things, and as people may have noticed in the follow or in the schedule for this marathon, we may or may not have included a tiny small meme. We are right in the middle of it.
I would say at the start of it, really.
Yeah, we're basically at the start of it. Oh yeah, you've been running for 42 minutes by now, so hey.
Oh wait, only 42? Oh my lord, the space is good. I'm just like half talking, half just doing the run in the background. Yeah. There's so much to talk about in terms of BSG. It's actually really wild.
Yeah. We decided, like, Boxmeister is one of the scheduling team members as well, but he recently bought a house and he's now trying to make it livable. So he was like, I'm not gonna do a run, guys. I'm very sorry, but, you know, priorities. And we understood. So, Sniperwave is one of the scheduling team members. Then we have Rashla and Kaito, who are up next. Then there's Gruntmeister, and at the end of the block, it's me. And that's the entire scheduling team, like, blocked together as one big group in the schedule. Like, most people know, like, GDQs, ESA, they always try to make specific blocks in their marathons. And I think it was Annual 18 specifically where we had a crap ton of Mario submitted.
Yes, we had...
And for some reason, we just put that all together.
I believe we had Super Mario 64, Super Mario 64 Multiplayer, and Super Mario 64 DS.
Yeah. I mean...
What ended up happening is, we actually couldn't choose between the staff, and then we just decided, hey, let's do all of them, but spread them out so nobody notices.
People still notice.
Yeah, it's hard to get things past viewership, as it turns out. Like, when there's multiple thousands of people watching, it is very hard to slip things by.
But yeah, I mean, we still kind of try to make blocks, but not as much, or not as you know, hard-coded, quote-unquote. In the past, like, weirdly enough, marathons as like GDQ and ESA tend to not really like Pokemon speedruns for some reason. Like, they are generally long and, you know...
volatile at times.
Some of them are really volatile, others are a little less, but... For some reason, the Pokemon runs are never really accepted in those marathons, and we did accept, like, a good bunch of them, and... I believe we may have put them a bit too close to each other in the schedule.
Yeah, I do believe the Pokemon block was 22 hours. It did have spin-off games, like it had Typing Adventure, it had some other random stuff attached. Like I did the Mystery Dungeon run at the end of it, but it was definitely a really long it was like a mini Pokemon marathon.
Yeah, we had a marathon within a marathon. It's insanity. But yeah, just by thinking back, Sniper, I wonder, what is your, like, absolute favorite game that has ever been shown at BSG?
Oh, I am going to need to think about it. Like, see, I am biased because I really, really enjoy doing Gatam Go Up with Kinnan. Gosh, that is actually hard. I think one of my actual favorite runs is Solar Jetman by the Mother Brain, which I do believe is also featured on Lustrum.
Yes, it will be tomorrow.
It's definitely not what I expected from a NES game like that. There's a lot of tech that goes into it, and Mother Brain just absolutely blows it out of the water every single time I've seen it.
I remember him joining BSG for the very first time, like, and we were like, oh my god, it's a runner that brings a NES. Like, come on, who plays games on a NES? I mean, a lot of people did back in the days, but speedruns and NES, it's like, they are so hard. I even want to call some of the games on the NES actual unfair. Because some of them are not meant to be finished, I feel. And he made it seem so easy.
So, speaking of hard games, this is kind of a turning point of the run. Plume and Gwendol gave us the ability Vayer's Warcry. What that does is it adds sudden death to all the attacks on your team. Now, the way sudden death works is it takes the enemy hit points and it just reduces it to 0 and it deals that much damage. And the chance of it proccing depends on the magic stat of your character and the resistance or magic defense on the enemy side. Luckily, at this point in the game, we have 2 sorcerers, so you can already kind of get an idea of what is going to happen. For the rest of the run, we are going to see a lot of instant death happening. And this route, in this game specifically, is what separated the very first runs of this game, which was an SDA quick route, where you only have so many hours to figure out how a game works. And 2 of the runners actually used this, the other 2 did not, and the difference between those times are about an hour. So that kind of is the effect of that. Now, at the time, the world record was a 2:16:57. Now you can see by the estimate that has changed a bit. This game has seen a lot of reroutes, and both me and Huang, who is a really big fan of the series, has been routing this game to death. We've practically gotten to a point where if I get a really good run in, I can get a 142 or 141, which is about a quarter less than what it used to be. It's actually really wild how much effort I've put into this, and the reason I did that is because of BSG, really. Like, outside of Katam, I don't think I would have picked up any other speed game if it weren't for BSG.
Yeah, because I do wonder, you know, what made you pick up like this game specifically?
Mostly
it's not
childhood
really
memories.
a well-known.
I had a lot of good memories on the Valkyrie profile series growing up as well, playing 1 and 2 Silmeria on the PlayStation. And eventually I got myself a DS and I saw, hey, that's another Valkyrie profile title. I used to play these as a kid. I just picked up this game and it's actually the best tactic game I've ever played. I like the story overall. There's a lot of good plot points going on between the endings and the game mechanics are so rewarding.
Yeah,
and
I wonder though, is there any specific reason, like, you're doing C ending now, is that your favorite category of the game, or?
I would say overall, it is not my favorite category, but I do believe that this is the best marathon showing. This category has the most exploits. It has a lot of plume routing. Just everything about this is really optimized to a point where it is just a good showing. And the fact that it's the shortest category also kind of helps. I'd say in terms of most fun, I would say B ending. B ending is really just an improvisation kind of run, where a lot of this is set in stone aside from a few patterns in Chapter 4 or Chapter 5. Like, a lot of this is just fairly consistent overall. And in B ending, you have to look at enemy patterns, improvise more, which is a lot more fun to me to do, because it's not just becoming a grind monkey and hope the RNG turns out. It actually requires a lot more skill as a runner.
Yeah.
A-ending is a show of skill too, but I feel like if I show off A-ending, I'm mostly showing off the effect of routing more than just the game itself.
Also, I just realized that I completely skipped out on a message that Kinnan posted earlier about bad RNG constantly cheering whenever people would actually get bad RNG in games. I remember that. Like, he has done that so many times to me. But yeah.
You mean like that one Octopath run?
We do not talk about that one.
Alright, I'm gonna leave that for you to explain during your own run. I feel like I feel like that's a good story to tell.
Yeah. So I know that you've been at BSG since, like, what was it, BSG 6?
I think 7 was the first I attended and 8 was the first one I ran at.
Yeah. Well, you know, why did you decide to start volunteering for BSG? Because that's I don't think they would, you know, you can walk in like being completely new and be like, I'll be the host.
So that's funnily enough, that's almost how it happened. But first I'm gonna need to focus on this menu real quick. This is one of the longest menus in the game.
Oh boy, menuing.
Yeah, I know, right?
Everything.
So menuing in this game is really interesting. There's 2 ways to scroll through a menu. The first way is just up and down, but if you hold Y while going up and down, you'll actually move down on an entire screen. So navigating menus like that actually gets to be a bit tough at times, and this one especially being the longest in this ending. Nice shop entry. This one being the longest actually requires a good bit of focus. Also, there's a little bit of delay between actually entering a menu and when your input starts registering, so I'd like to just not mess up. Messing up here is kind of bad. Also, luckily with this game, the menu noises are actually really satisfying. Yeah. So we just did a whole slew of equipment. Make sure to see if I did everything right. It looks like I did. Good, let's go. This is one of the most unstable fights in the entire game. This is definitely one of the few fights I tend to reset at a lot. And it mainly has to do with random enemy patterns. It's just very easy to lose a lot of time if you're unlucky. So the main thing we're hoping for is that Lisalada, who is the mage we are currently looking to step forward, does not die. If that doesn't happen, we should be good to go. Also, we're targeting a wall here. Using a field spell gives it a plus-sized marker, and it hits every enemy within that reach. Now, with that reach, we can barely hit the archer at the back, who we actually cannot reach in any other way, and saves us a lot of walking around to do. Oh yeah, that was sorry. That was a long menu and a lot of focus.
Yeah.
Let's get back to scheduling. I don't even remember the question. It's actually that bad.
I was wondering, you know, how you became an actual volunteer for BSG.
Oh, so after I did my run, I saw that I thought to myself that hosting is a lot of fun, and because I had issues just presenting stuff in general, I figured that would help me out as a person. So what I did was I asked Jasper, who was the head org at the time, how I could sign up for volunteering. And back in the day, because BSG was very small, it was more like a, you know, you ask it, you get it kind of thing. And I think at BSG 9 or 10, I had my first hosting shift. And from there, I got into contact more and more. And because of it being a very small org, it made me get a staff position fairly early on as well. And from there, it just kind of stuck. Ooh, that sap power is interesting, but he's in a good location. I think I can manage. Sorry, this fight needs a lot of improv, and I'd like to... Doc, I'd like to remember what I need to do on.
I'd rather have you do your run proper than, you know...
Don't worry, at the pace we're looking at now, the estimate shouldn't be a problem, but knowing this game, I've lost 7 minutes before, so... To a single input. It's not unheard of. Oh man.
A fitting death for a pitiful wretch.
And it's actually been that long, huh? I've almost been staff for 4 years. It was April in 2017 where I became staff together with IND or Indy, who I think will be running later on as well.
Yeah, tomorrow. He's on tomorrow with Adam's family. So,
oh man.
Which is a blast to watch, honestly.
I feel like I do have a bit of history with Indy as well. It's more like a rivalry thing, where we just meme back and forth a lot.
I mean, that's what you get for being meme lords, right?
Quite so. So a thing that started up where I think during annual or right before annual is that when we were hosting at BSG and we would leave the host PC, we would leave an image for the next person that would take over the hosting. Now, Indy is a Dissidia runner and a Final Fantasy runner who's a really big fan of the Warrior of Light, and I say that in the most sarcastic way possible. So what I ended up doing at Annual 2017 is, oh man, I really wish I had the picture, but what happened is I took a photo of the Warrior of Light, I put Indy's face on top of it. He was just flabbergasted for a good 5 minutes. I think that's... I feel like that's the things I will never forget about BSG. Like it's just small things like that.
Yeah. You know, while you know, talking about that, like, is there any like, we've mentioned a few smaller moments, but do you have like a bigger moment or a bigger memory thing that you're like, when that happened, it you know, it changed my view of PC, or like it made me extremely happy or whatever?
Yeah, I think Annual 20... Well, I'd say to the lead up of Annual 2018, the most interesting thing happened. So, during 2018, a good friend of me and Kinnan and some other BSG members in Mighty Mouth actually submitted a Oracles run. And due to his personal work situation, he sadly had to cancel because of just not having enough money. He had some other financial... how do you say it? He just got very unlucky in a financial sense. Let's just keep it at that. And what happened from that is that a few BSG community members actually put up a full marathon in order to fundraise for Mighty Mouth, in order to get his run in, so he could visit and just do his run and have a good time with all of us. Now, that alone gave me such a good feeling for the whole community. Like, there was so much work put in just getting one of the American runners to your event, as well as just giving him the run straight up. Now, sadly, in the end, for people who do know what happened there, Mighty got absolutely unlucky with the flight as well, and where the flight got cancelled and they couldn't find another one. Which, still to this day, kind of hurts me, since I really would have liked to see Mighty Mouth attend, but maybe another day it will happen.
He is one of the most kindest runners I've ever seen.
Definitely one of the most wholesome people I know. But it's really crazy to me that between the members of the community, we just got an entire marathon together, just to get one person across the ocean. I think things like that are what really shows you how tight-knit a community can be.
Absolutely.
I think a secondary moment, also related to Annual 2018, funnily enough, is at the very final day, where I had 8 days or 8 nights beforehand where I was at the venue, and I had slept, I think, a combined 24 hours between them. I was so mentally stressed out that the best option I thought for myself was just to be staring into a fire until the light came up, to get more rest than actually sleeping. Like, I feel like I needed the mental rest more than the actual sleeping kind of rest. And what ended up happening is that almost everyone went to bed except for, I want to say, Kinnan, Marlexe, and 2 other people. And we just stared and talked next to a campfire until, well, the light came up, really. I
remember that.
Definitely a very good bonding experience.
I also remember like multiple of you not being the happiest folks the next morning when you had to wake up at 9.
Luckily enough, I wasn't one of those.
No, I remember Kinnan being a little grumpy.
Oh, poor Kinnan. I feel like part of Kinnan being grumpy was related to Cruel as well. Now, to explain that side of the story, during the event, a lot of people got sick. Now, Cruel wasn't one of those, but what happened because of that is Cruel was like, yeah, I'm healthy throughout the entire event, in a positive way, like, yo, I'm healthy, I can do this. And then, at the end of the marathon, in I think the afterthoughts, he also explained that he was luckily not sick, and then he wakes up the final day. The man is shaking and sick, and knowing the Cruel mobile,
oh god,
Kinnan had to drive his stuff home as well as Cruel itself, and seeing Kinnan in that small car probably didn't really help him, help his temper that day.
I laughed my ass off, not gonna lie.
For people who know how like the cartoon clown cars look, yeah, it was basically the same idea.
I mean, Kinnan is a you know, a big guy, and Cruel's car was not made for big people.
Yeah, surely. And for those who don't know Kinnan is a pretty large guy.
That car was something. Yeah, it had no power steering. Yeah, that's the funny thing about small cars, though, Cruel. Wonderfully enough, like I remember that with my car as well. I used to drive a Renault Twingo. They are small, but you can cramp in so much stuff. It's unreal. But yeah, I mean, that entire event was like, for everyone that didn't get extremely sick, or even for those that did but recovered, it was a good experience. Like, yeah. I think most of us bonded really well.
I don't think I've ever seen a group of people work that hard on anything before. It was actually insane. I feel like a lot of us had about 100 hours worth of shifts. Sadly enough, myself included. I think Dark Gaku, definitely one of the heroes of that event, especially since he really didn't have that much involvement with BSG at the time.
Well, I think his very first visit was Animal 17 as well. He's more of an Animal guy than you know, a regular visitor, but I remember him. Something bad?
Yeah, there's the one pattern. So what you saw happen was that both the swordsman and the archer walk forward. Now, if that happens, the rescue target just dies, and you can't do anything about it. It's just faster to reset. It's unlucky. That's actually surprising. Like, we're well over halfway in the run, and nothing bad has happened until that point.
Don't jinx it.
Yeah, it's fine. Don't worry. I am more than okay. I have everything backed up and ready to go. I have no fear.
But yeah, I remember, I think it was in the interview with Glover. They mentioned something about a certain very whatchamacallit, enthusiastic project we set it up in that combo randomizer 2 versus 2 race thing.
No.
And you were our audio guy. I think you still have PTSD from that.
Yeah, so I was on that audio shift. I had to set everything up, and I legitimately, after spending like half an hour, couldn't find the issue for the life of me. Now, what I did fix is most of it, except the fact that the commentators couldn't hear the runners, and we desperately wanted to make that happen as well. Now, what I didn't know at the time is that the problem wasn't within the mixer or any of the routing. So I got extremely pissed up until the point where someone unfortunately pointed out to me after an hour of just straight up working on the machinery that, hey, shit's not going well, do your stuff. I had to hold back a lot of anger at that point.
Understandable.
Definitely had my
I was
patience
one of the runners.
Oh my lord. Okay.
And I remember that at some point, I like Boxmeister was my team member, so we were just talking in Dutch to each other and like, this is taking a while, isn't it? Yeah. And at some point, I looked over at like the audio desk and I was like, removed my headset like a bit and I was like, Snipe, is everything all right? And just by the look on your face, I could see that no, things were not all right.
I think I gave a lot of people a death stare there, dude.
So I was talking to Bob, like I was like, okay, because at that point, the only Joey, who was just a visitor, you know, he had no volunteer jobs whatsoever, but he, you know, he's a musician. He works with studio equipment.
You can also say magician. I feel like that's about right.
Yeah, that's what he did with that mixer. That was pretty much magic. But he have been talking to you about, you know, having experience with mixers and stuff. So you just contacted him at that point, like, can you help us because we're at a loss. And he is trying to do that. At that point, you're already outside, trying to cool down a little. And I was talking to Boxmash. I was like, yo, Box, you know, maybe we should just make this, you know, a solo run by Yume and Ash, because things are not working out, man. I don't want, you know, because at that point in time, we are already like an hour and a half, almost an hour and a half past, you know, starting time. I'm like, my schedule is completely going into ruins. I you know, just cancel the race thing, make things happen that we know we can make happen, and it's fine. And as I say that to Box, and we're like, well, let's give it a few more minutes, I hear through my headset from the tech desk, like, I think we've got it figured out, guys. You should be good to go in like 2 minutes.
Yeah, as it turned out, the issue in the end really wasn't the mixer, or it was actually our preamp that just absolutely shat the bed on one of the headsets. So we just, the one cursed headset was not something that we would have found on our own without Joey, and I think the only Joey really deserves a medal for that whole performance.
He stepped up. I mean, I was already nervous for that run, because, you know, it's me and Boxmeister, we're good friends. We go up against Yume and Ashiria. I mean, they are close friends as well. So there's a bit of weird tension in like, but just sitting there and not knowing when you're actually being able to run, that made me so... And then even like seeing Sniper low-key panic behind that desk, it didn't help me. It absolutely did not help my nerves.
Yeah, that's definitely...
I remember, like, big shout-outs to someone, certainly someone here. That guy was like, I'll make sure that, you know, you guys have enough water to drink. And he kept on walking to get me water. I think by the time the run finished, I had at least drank, like, 3 liters of water. At the very least. if not more.
I feel like 2019 was definitely an interesting event overall. Like, not just that happening. I think the main part that I really liked was the fact that... oh yeah, low-key for sure, Grump. The best part that happened was within the preparation, since we had the scheduling team for the first time. I think that's definitely the biggest improvement we've had with the event. And we also kind of swapped the way we did the scheduling overall. So I'll give you a bit of an insight. I'll give you a bit of a spoiler on how it's done. So we have 2 rounds of cuts, and we have community voting. Now what we do for round 1 cuts is we take the best voted games from community voting. Like, we hold up a standard based on how things scored and all that. And the best runs of those, like underneath a certain threshold, automatically get accepted into the marathon. Like, that's how the round 1 cuts work. And I feel like that system alone just brings a community feeling for those with info, because you know that as you've been joining in and voted, your voice mattered. And I do also believe that that changed the schedules for the better overall at annual events.
Absolutely.
Like, if a run scores that well between the 20+ people that voted, there's definitely something going well. Like, there are not a lot of people that dislike the run, and I feel that using the power of the whole BSG community has improved scheduling a lot more than is given credit for. God, there's been so much happening with scheduling though. Like, I feel like we've been talking for an hour. It's just like nothing is really advanced. Like, it just keeps going. There's just infinite stories with BSG. Like, from meeting Dutch J for the first, or meeting you know what? Meeting Frosty was the best part. So, what at the time I didn't know Frosty very well. I've seen his stream here and there. Like, there's not much going on there, and I met him at the space afterwards. We were going home at the same time. Like, we were going to take the same train and all that because we lived close. Then at the train station in Leiden, where our stop was at the time, was like, yo, which bus are you going for? He said the 50. I was like, wait, the 50, that's the one I take. As it turns out, we took the exact same bus stop, and at the very end, we realized that we only lived 400 meters apart from each other. And I just never realized that. I don't think Frosty did either. We're just like casually going back from the space from a BSG. I had never seen Frosty before. It's not the biggest city ever. It's like 20 something thousand people there.
Yeah, it's true.
I was just so weirded out by the fact that Frosty lived that close.
Yeah, also I since we're, you know, still on the scheduling thing, I really quickly plug that if people like our events and, you know, would like to participate in one of them, well, you've got a fairly good chance, because BSG Online 4 is gonna happen at March 19th till March 21st. So it's completely online. So you know, if you're from the US, you can join us. If you're from the Netherlands, you can join us. If you're from Japan, you can join us. That will make scheduling even more interesting. But you know, we'll make it happen. You know, feel free to submit. Submissions will close on March 5th, so be sure to be in time. That's like, you've got a week from now. Check our Discord for more information on that. And yeah, I think that's well. And then there's our week-long event, as we call it, and we've been calling it annual for like an hour now. Normally it's in Van Rij, the Netherlands. This year it's a bit of a, we don't know what's going to happen. It could be online, it could be on site due to the entire situation around COVID. Exact dates are not confirmed yet, but it's like the 3rd week of August. That's something that's for sure.
But not much.
If you want to submit, but you're like, I can only do, you know, runs when it's on site, or I can only do runs online, or, you know, I can do both. We make sure you can just select that in the submission process, and submissions for that specific event will close on April 2nd. So yeah, if people would like to showcase runs, feel free to submit them and make the life of scheduling team harder.
I mean, also easier. eventually.
Also easier.
If international people get to submit and it goes online, we have a really nice time schedule to work with. It's gonna be a lot easier filling night shifts. And trust me, night shifts have been hard to fill in the past. But before I go into that, I did just receive one of the most broken items in the game, and I'm going to another long menu. Well, it's not really that long, but you know, you get the idea. Menus can be quite long in this game. But yeah, the thing that we just got is the Offender's Bow, and the Offender's Bow is a really interesting weapon. Now, what it does is it doubles your damage, but it can only be equipped by archers. Now, archers are really funny in this game, for multiple reasons. But double hitting on top of instant death turns out to be the most broken thing in the game, and it's not close. We'll see how that works in a bit after we finish out this menu. We'll also be swapping around some attacks due to blocking being a thing in this game, weirdly enough. Actually, did I set that? I did not, okay. I'm still sharp enough. Let's go. Let me see. God, there's so much to do in this menu. It's so weird. Let me see. Eve Receptor, Tiara, Elfin Tefeta, Magic Bangle. Shackle of Sin. Longest menu in the game, always. Always annoying. This fight rarely goes wrong, but this is where the magic stat of Reinhilde really starts mattering. It's mainly due to double hitting. You really want to hit the instant death and get a bit of Sin afterwards. So we're gonna be abusing the absolute heck out of instant death, because instant death is fun and totally not broken at all. Luckily, it only lasts 3 turns, so it's still interesting in terms of routing, because as it turned out, it was extremely difficult to get all the enemies dead from instant death within 3 turns. This fight definitely not being one of those. This is a 2-turn fight, even though it might not look like it with how the enemies are spread.
But not much.
Oh man, it's definitely something, this game. Like I'm really happy I picked it up though, and I'm really happy that I started routing the game on top of it after it was done. I even briefly got Dragon Darch, who is the old SDA quick route runner, back into the game as well, which felt really good. It definitely is a lot easier when you have competition to run a game, but if you are one of those people who are the only one that runs a game, please continue. Like, the fact that you can optimize a world record on your own and find a lot of strats also looks good for anyone who wants to pick up the run. Like, you know you have someone to contact, you can ask them questions about the run and all the tech they found over the years, so it saves things needing to be rediscovered. Like, do make an attempt to get games like that in a marathon, spread the word a bit. It's really rewarding once you get a game on the radar. Man, I'm also like really looking forward to Annual potentially happening. I did actually submit a ending to Annual 2021, assuming it is on site. I feel like a showing on site usually does a lot better, which is really funny that I say that, because I don't think I've had a single run that was at a time slot where more than 2 people could watch in the audience.
Yeah.
I've had some terrible luck in terms of scheduling the game.
I mean, you're generally one of the people that yells like, I am very okay with doing night shifts. I even prefer them. And then there's a lot of people that are like, I'd rather not do night shifts. So,
Rip.
9 out of 10 times Sniper ends up in night shifts.
Yeah, that's about how it goes. Sadly and luckily enough.
Funny enough, you know, the audience is empty, but Twitch chat is generally just really alive at that point.
Yeah, Twitch chat at 5 AM is actually one of the better things to see in Europe. Like, you still have a lot of the American viewership, whether it's East Coast or West Coast, that are still watching. And usually they just stick around, and I've had a lot of random compliments from in my DMs from the Twitch viewers. I feel like that's the best part about marathon runs, is just seeing followers pop up, seeing the VODs do well on YouTube. A notable VOD that did extremely well was the Explorers of Sky speedrun that I did at absolute not okay o'clock.
Yeah, what were you talking about? That you were basically like you're still surprised that you didn't fall asleep.
Yeah, like that's the run that gets like 100,000+ views on YouTube, right? Like it's just how it works. It felt really good to see a lot of the compliments within the community as well for that game, because it was still developing at the time.
But yeah, if you look at your time right now, how are we doing on pacing?
I have no idea. I don't have my splits open.
Let's say that by now you're at like 119.
Oh wait, this run is good. Okay, I'm like 4 minutes behind BB, I think, something like that.
So far a really solid run, and like I remember when you were grinding down this game, like you streamed on a regular base. I saw you improve like a lot, and then you submitted it to a BSG, and I remember, you know, I tried to convince everyone else like the insane amount of actual time and skill that goes into running this is beyond, and like we accepted it at that point, and you actually showed us it's like the menuing. If you're, you know, not rusty at all or whatever, it's like the menuing goes by so fast.
Yeah, once you get good at this game, it basically becomes a grind fest really to get past RNG. I've still been willing to beat this BB, even though the run I have right now is a lot better than I anticipated. Like, it's really hard to have everything function. It's at a 144.57 now, for reference. I think I can lower it down to maybe a high 141, which is already difficult as all heck to be doing.
But yeah.
Yeah, there's been a lot of change. Both having routers active in Huang made it a lot easier. Now, for the other endings that I eventually wanted to route, what I did, because there wasn't a leaderboard thing, I just made a forum post. Like, I made a route, I did the run just as a blueprint, see how it went. Turned out it didn't go too well because my notes were wrong. But that didn't really stop me. Like, I just did the run, I finished it out anyway, and I made a forum post on the speedrun page asking if they could make it like a best ending run on the leaderboards, and they just gladly accepted it. And I feel like that's one of the best things you can do. Like, if you want to have a new category, make sure you have the material ready to show that you've already done most of the routing yourself, or are at least interested in routing if it's still going on. Like, having material to deliver makes it a lot more easy to communicate with people. Is something I've learned.
Also, for people that you know aren't doing it yet, you know, if you want to stay updated about events or anything, be sure to follow the Twitter and Instagram of BSG. You know, you can find us under BSG Marathon. You know, you get behind-the-scenes looks of events, you stay up to date with the newest things, like, I believe, especially, like, when we're in person, you might get, like, a few pictures of build-up day and all that. Pretty cool. And, we're still in process of uploading, like, all of our VODs of the past BSGs to YouTube.
Alright, so quickly, we're going to hear the best voice line from Auguste on the counterattack. When you hear that line, I would like you to post "stand and fight" in all caps exactly once in the chat. You'll maybe hear it multiple times because it is a range, but we'll see. I would love to see that. Yeah, get ready, Twitch chat. It is happening. That looks like a one-hit. Yeah, okay. Did get the range, luckily enough. It's about 1 in 3 to miss it, I'd say. But using counterattack there actually saves a little bit of animation time, which is extremely nice. It's one of the little things that you can't really count for, but when it happens, it just feels good. Always stand and fight. Now, if you missed it, there will be another opportunity with the other armor in a bit, so don't fret. It'll all be fine.
Or speedruns, you say? Well, stay tuned, because we're not done by a long shot with the Lustrum.
Yeah, Zita, you've asked me before what my favorite run was of all time, but I would actually like to return the question. What is your favorite speedrun throughout all of BSG?
Oh man, that's a tough one. Damn. I think, and this is to this day still one of my favorite runs that has been shown at BSG, and that's Lufia 2, Rise of the Sinistral by our very own crew. Especially the story, like... It's such a good game, and the music in that game is just amazing. And I've seen it so many times. I think I by now can almost dream the entire story getting told by Cruel, because Cruel always narrates the games.
Music Craigasm.
Music Craigasm is a wonderful thing. I mean, Cruel has done more Final Fantasy runs.
It's time, chat.
It's time. But yeah. When we were setting up the Lustrum, we wanted to give as many people a chance to showcase anything. But if we would have gotten down to like, hey, we need more time, I probably would have asked Cruel to do like Lufia 2.
That's a fair
yeah.
one. I feel like that's one of the cornerstones of early BSG as well.
Absolutely, it's like. But yeah, Final Fantasy, man, I can totally remember that run being shown in so many different varieties. We've had single players, we have races. There's been 2 players, 1 controllers. There's been relay races.
There's been Ancient Cave. There's been
That's
Ancient Cave races.
I mean, but just like if you look at Final Fantasy, like Cruel has done that today, and that run has been on the schedule. I think like for the first half of BSG's life, it's been at every BSG or something. It was insane.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like Cruel in general is definitely one of the cornerstones of BSG. I think before BSG... what number is it? I think 17 was the first BSG where Cruel didn't have a run. No,
it's later. I think
even,
it was
oh my
BSG 23 or 24 where he didn't have a run in. And that was his very first time he didn't have a run in like all this time. And BSG 23, I think, was, if I recall correctly, like May of 2018?
Yeah, it was pre-annual like 2018 for sure. I also remember Cruel kind of half complaining. I remember seeing a message from Cruel and stuff like, "Hey, where's my run?"
I remember him being like, "How dare you! You broke my streak!
How dare you break the streak?"
But he knows it's never personal, and you know, he agreed with the schedule we had, so that's something. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good runs. Another one that I've always enjoyed when it's on, it's like Super Mario 64 by M3. Not specifically because of the game, but more of the fact that M3 is just a really good entertainer in my opinion.
Blame him free.
Like he funny enough, he spawned so many memes by himself.
He didn't even try to. I think a lot of the best BSG memes like happened from
accidents.
By accident, like especially things like what you saw in the Okami run prior is the final boss of the game. Like that one was intended. That was something we planned out to do in one of the first go-op runs where there are 6 phases of Dark Mind, and we were just gonna repeat this is Dark Mind, the final boss of the game, until we actually reached the final phase where we just said this is Dark Mind, the actual final boss of the game.
Yeah.
I feel like memes like that stuck around pretty well, as well from the Dark Souls memes from Broad, and counting the 4 from Broad as well.
Apparently, you know, the person who's hosting Dark Souls tomorrow has to ask Broad about, you know, his counting skills, and they've been improved by this time. Oh, I know Broad hates it when we do that, but you know, we do it out of love, Broad, if you're watching. But yeah, I mean, another staple marathon run for BSG, and I don't even remember how often we've seen it. It's Rayman 1 by Texera.
Oh.
I think we've seen every possible console run of that game.
Wait. I have never seen this. This is actually new to me. Why does she know Dark Savior? Why have I never seen this before? It doesn't matter in this specific... This fight sucks, man. Like, this mage right here can do a million different spells. on top of randomly causing status effects, but she can also just walk down and ruin your entire run with a GM, which is Grand Magic. Luckily, I can recover from this because we don't really need Wilfred for the rest of the fight. If he would have silenced Darius or Reinhild, I would have been in trouble though. This is one of the fights where it's really mandatory to make sure that you can clear the fight in 3 turns. Because instant death only lasting 3 turns.
But not much.
Quite nice to see that I didn't get absolutely owned. Like my current A ending PB, where I had seen a spell like that before, except it stunned all 3 because it crit, and that kind of just randomly cost me 5 minutes. And that's the nature of this game. Execution mistakes also are things. There's just no way to go back. There's no saves, especially if you do PB attempts. Like, you just don't save because every time you save, you lose 20 seconds, and it's just straight up not worth it. But having those random things happen, you learn to live with it. And it's things like that that keep you going too. Like, when there's no variance, it also helps out a lot at times, but the variety between running a game that's extremely reliant on RNG and something that is literally the opposite has been quite the journey for speedrunning for me. Especially right now that I'm working on Warrior Land 4, where the RNG literally only can lose you 0.7 seconds. Which, you know, if you get unlucky here, you lose 7 minutes. There's not really that much of a difference now, is there? Oh man. And it really is nice to run this at BSG always though. Like there's something about this community that keeps me coming back. It's just a good time whenever it's in person or online. Like even now, I believe that the Discord is being used as kind of a practice room of sorts where you can just hang out and do whatever. It's
a little bit of a viewing party. Like people are having fun. Like sit together, watch the runs, talk about memories. We've even played some Jackbox before. I really want to play that later on again.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Reminds me a bit of the board game room. Bringing board games is some of the best part. I brought a game once named We Didn't Play This at all.
Oh, God.
Where the rules of the game are literally what the card says, and that can do that can be some extreme outlandish stuff, like saying Comic Sans is awesome before you play a card every turn, and I do remember a certain organizer at the time not really appreciating the fact that he had to say that, and there's a really funny clip of that out there.
Yeah, if my memory serves me right, and people in chat that know this might actually correct me, but I think we might see him throughout this marathon at some point.
I have good faith. It would be fun to see him again.
I mean, it's good to see all like we've invited a lot of people, you know, from earlier days as well as, you know, newer runners, and it's a blast. Everyone felt so honored to be, you know, running in this marathon, in this celebration of 5 years of BSG, and you know, I feel the same way, honestly.
Yeah, certainly. There's just a lot of things that have changed, but it's still the same BSG.
My hunger for battle
You know, we've grown bigger. The community has grown for sure, but I still feel like we are a very tight community.
I think as a core, BSG hasn't changed, but the people that revolve around it have definitely been changing, and that's definitely a good thing. It shows you how much, or how easy it is rather, to just talk to people at marathons. Like, you already share an interest, and once it is available, I would actually recommend everyone to visit it at least once for the experience. Like, if it's nothing for you, then you'll still have a good time because you've probably met people that you'll never forget in your life. Like, I've traveled a lot for speedrunning marathons. Like, I've been to Califon, I've been to a GDQ, I've been to ESA, and every marathon just has its own moments. Like, they can be vastly different, and you can enjoy one more than the other, and that's fine. But I don't think I've had a single marathon I did not enjoy. Like, even the one I enjoyed the less, I still had a blast just talking to people, meeting new people. It was just all good stuff, really. It's just a very worthwhile thing to do. Like, you can maybe even, if you know some friends already from a speedrun community, maybe you can get an Airbnb together. You can get a hotel room. Like, there's a lot of things you can think about in that sense. And I think Zeta here would definitely agree with me that visiting a
Yeah.
marathon is life-changing.
It's definitely a really good thing to do. Like, you'll meet a lot of new people. You'll make friends you never thought you would be friends with, or you never thought of them, having the same interest as you. Because for me, for example, when I joined BSG, I had seen Dutch J on stream. And Dutch J, as an old organizer, when I actually, talked a bit more with him, he was like the nicest dude ever. But the first time I saw him, I was scared of him. I was like, he's gonna eat me alive or something. Like, it is weird, and like, when I got to know him, he was like super relaxed, could have really good talks with him, and yeah, it's weird how those kind of things happen. And when you're at the venue, that's when you actually, learn that kind of stuff.
You just start talking to people, you do some things, you do some board games, you can do whatever really. It just ends up being a good time every single time.
I see Matt mentioning in chat, like, I fell asleep on the couch at my very first BSG on camera. I
True.
remember that. But hey, that happens, man. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Matt is from Australia, right?
Yeah, I do believe Matt's Australian.
Yeah, I mean, coming over all the way from Australia, you're gonna be jet lagged.
Oh yeah, quite. I feel like jet lag isn't that bad though in my experience. Like, I've flown a good bit. I think jet lag is worse for me when I fly eastwards, which is funny because that's the way back from the US. Well, technically not really, because you go north, you go over the North Pole. That's semantics. It's just definitely worth.
Not to mention, time zones in Australia are a bit weird to begin with. I mean,
very true.
But yeah, as Matt mentions, jet lag is a thing when traveling from Australia.
Yeah, it's certainly something.
But yeah, I remember Matt joining us for the very first time. That was really cool. And what I feel is one of the strong suits of this is that whenever a new person joins us, we try to make them feel very welcome. I think that's one of the strengths that BSG has. Like, make it as welcoming as possible. And if people disagree with me, that's fine. But I mean, that's just my feeling about the entire group.
Take this.
Yeah, also, I might have not commentated about the game a whole lot because there's just so many stories on BSG. Now, luckily, BSG has a YouTube, and there's another really good run I've done at this game. Just to go full sellout mode for a second. My Valk profile run on BSG 33 is definitely the run I'm most proud of. I don't think I've ever had a better showing of the game at a marathon before, and the fact that I can just refer to a BSG run at another BSG is also really funny on its own to me.
Uh-huh.
Like, I feel like I'm still like half commentating on the most important parts of the game, but the fact that it's just so nice to be able to refer to a previous event is just so funny.
So yeah, speaking of that YouTube, it's youtube.com/BSG Marathon.
Yeah, look at that. Do definitely check those out. Like, if you ever want to do a deep dive of speedruns, you can find some very, very hilarious runs if you
I think
click on a game you don't know.
Yeah. And we had a few of those. Like, by now, as I said, we're both scheduling for quite a while, and yeah, at some point you're like, we've seen basically all the games. At least you start feeling like we've seen so many games, there's nothing that can surprise us. And that I recall, like, was it Animal 19? Or no, Animal 20? Like, where we had that Let Us Inception run submitted to BSG.
Oh yeah, right. That's a highlight.
All our minds.
That was actually the most popularly voted game. Like, nobody knew what that game was. It was like, yo, this game is weird. What is this? And then we just started watching it at a watching party between voters because we wanted to. That run was phenomenal to watch. It was so weird. It was just something we never heard of.
So it's like, there's still surprises, even after all those years. And yeah, I mean, Cypher says it in chat as well. Like, can confirm, Animal 2018 was my very first time at BSG and everyone's super welcoming.
There's so much that changes when you go their marathon and actually schedule. I've learned I've actually almost picked up a speed game because of it too. Like if I had the money at the time to get an NES, I would have probably picked up Assault Suits Falcon that Vader was running.
Yeah.
Or Alpus. I don't know what his name is nowadays. He's had a few name changes.
Yeah.
I do believe it is Alpus.
I saw someone mention like, hey, if you don't.
What did I do? I'm an idiot.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I wasn't supposed to attack there. It didn't register my left input, and I tend to just mash A afterwards. I should be fine. Let me see. Yeah, I can dash after and then maybe lose Lisalada. It's fine. I don't think this fight is losable if I play this well.
Okay. Well, so someone mentioned like it can be awkward if you don't know anything about games. Well, in a way, but if you show interest, you'll learn a lot.
And that's not just a someone, alright? That is my girlfriend.
Nah.
It's not just a someone, man. That's not how this works.
Is that well? I mean, but we've had people over. Like hell, I remember last, like in Annual 2019, with the entire hotel crew. I remember like the hotel crew just watching from the back of the stream room and not understanding what the hell was going on and why. You know, sometimes we were super happy and, you know, chanting, and then all of a sudden like, oh no. But like they were interested in what we were doing. I mean, I think Crew also mentioned him, Michael, you know, the hotel guy who was tasked with supervising us for the entire week. He was the most chill dude. And the moment he joined that community corner craze was that was a glorious moment.
I actually need to really think about what I need to do here, because I really want to have a spell reinforce on Darius, but I don't think I can make that. So I just have to hope that I hit the range and get lucky. Otherwise, well, whatever. This game is this game. This is what I mean with this game being very punishing, by the way. It can get really bad really fast. Like, you saw me make like a single execution mistake, and it just absolutely all hell broke loose instantly. Even though I do feel like I can still hit the range and I have like 5 attacks to do so, it's always scary. We're also gonna lose Lisalada here, which is kind of unfortunate, but it'll do. Just a few extra fights. But it's really fun to be at a hotel or, well, at a scouts venue in our case, and just randomly talk to people. Like, I do believe I was randomly asked something by someone I'd never seen before. I think it was Amy, which is now, I want to say almost a mainstay within BSG as well. She's definitely attended multiple times.
Yeah.
Like, I remember just randomly being asked a question. It's like, there's just nothing weird. Like, we all know you're there for the speedruns. Like,
or, you know,
it's just the most normal thing in the world, really.
Yeah, if it's not like you're not into speedruns specifically, but you're there to support like your boyfriend, a good friend, I don't know, you know, your favorite streamer, you know, you name it. Like, you'll get accepted within the group. Like, people will try to make you feel welcome. People will try to you know, drag you in. And what I've seen as well, like, even though for example, the Pokemon crew, you know, those guys come over like every year, you know, deliver some super good speedruns. They are always together. Like, that's just their thing. They're always playing Pokemon. But if you walk up to them and ask them anything about their run or whatever, they will actually, you know, tell you.
Oh my god. Okay, I actually still got the one shot on the last attack. That was extremely scary. Easy game. Easy. No shame, ever. No, don't worry. But also, like, in terms of, like, if you're doing your first commentary, nerves are fine. Nerves are absolutely fine. But if you really feel like you'll be nervous, doing a practice run beforehand actually is a big help as well. Definitely one of the better things you could be doing. Like, you'll see once you do a commentator run on your own stream, and you just don't look at splits. You can't look at chat, really. The thing you'll find is that let me sure. To answer Kroll real quickly, I think there's like 15-ish minutes left.
Ooh, we're gonna get close on estimate then.
Actually, what are we at right now? It might be a lot less.
We're at 143, 144.
Oh, actually, no, wait. We're definitely going hella under unless I make like a mistake. I think every fight from here is deterministic to a point. Like, assuming no execution mistakes, I don't think I can die from this point. Let me phrase it that way. Every death can be accounted to me, and I feel like I have the leniency to do a death. So I'll be quickly showing off one of the cutscenes in this game because it's pretty as all heck. It'll be right before the final fight. I think this is gonna be like a 151, which is good. Like, as harsh as I have the RNGs been before, there's definitely good hope that, oh my lord, I'm actually getting the one cycle. Nice. Like, there is always just the thing that going underestimate is just a possibility as long as you play well. Like, I found out that as long as I don't make execution mistakes, this specific estimate will be reached, even with the most horrendous of luck, which luckily happened last week. Like, I had about 14 minutes lost to luck, and I still barely went underestimate. It was definitely a show, and for determining estimates, I feel like that's a good benchmark. Like, if you can complete 95% of your runs in that time, I feel like it is good. Like, the scheduling team and whoever just does the games on a marathon overall, they'll find an answer. Like, whether it's, as we've done before, a backup game or slightly longer intermissions. Like, it's things like that, especially with the interviews now. There are so many things that you as a runner don't need to worry about that I feel like having that knowledge makes you a lot more calmer during the runs as well. Like, there's just a lot less stress for you if you think about it that way. Like, when you're at a marathon, you should assume that the staff is competent, and they always are. Like, don't get me wrong, they actually always are. And because of that, you as a runner can maneuver around that and just only focus on your run. And I feel like that is probably the biggest lesson I've learned in terms of doing marathon runs in general. And I don't think I would have learned that without having some inside info in BSG. Let me see, what do I do? I have the Plume now. Okay, so this fight's kind of weird. Normally one of these two Realm Stalkers is paralyzed and you can just walk past. If they both aren't, it's gonna take a bit of extra time. That's nothing bad. I don't know if Zeta can agree with this, with what I said previously on taking away runner stress.
I mean, it's hard for us to take it away from you, but I mean, you can count on the scheduling team, or any scheduling team for that matter, not specifically BSG.
And trust me, I'm not just saying that to get people to run to BSG, but if you really want to, submissions are open for annual and online for just saying.
Yeah, but like the scheduling team and just staff in general, they will always try to make your run as comfy as possible. So no need to worry about everything. The only thing you worry about is actually doing your run, and if possible, enjoy it as much as possible.
Certainly, like the feeling you get when doing the run, like if you really enjoy your run, people will notice that, and that's definitely one of the better things. Also, shout outs to Offen as well. Yeah, accommodating is definitely a good word. I think Jasper hit the nail on the head.
Behind any great house,
yeah.
There lies a great
Okay, Zeta, what time are we at right now? I need to know if I can show off a cutscene here.
148, I would say.
Oh yeah, okay, cutscene time, Pog. Reminder that this is a DS and the native resolution is 240p. Like, as a heads up, after a quick save, because saving is pretty good, even though it's kind of slow. Long live a million cutscenes. Okay, here it comes. 240p, by the way. It's actually wild to me how well this cutscene is made. Like, it really feels like it's made to look as good as possible on this resolution. Man, it just... How is this cutscene so good on this resolution, man? I really don't understand. Something is wrong in my notes, I think. No, it is not. Okay, I'm just blind. Good. Shoutouts to having notes, by the way. Notes are blessed. Notes are actually blessed. Like, if you're not sure on what to do, and you can feel... You might be able to feel nervous, but... The giveaways, don't be ashamed to bring notes, is something I'll also give as an advice in general. Like, it's a lot better to look at your notes every now and then than to absolutely just murder your own due to not knowing what to do. I think that's also something I should be mentioning. I feel like a lot of runners at BSG can also say that, especially the Pokeboys, because there's so much going on with Pokemon. I believe Wartab showed me like an 81-page notebook on one of his runs.
Yeah, it's insane. Pokemon runs are special.
Definitely makes for a good talking point too. It's like, what is that book you have with you? It's like, oh yeah, that's just my notes.
I think we can agree that Pokemon is just... Pokemon can be a real handful in terms of notes.
Like, I say that, but my notes on this game are also fairly large. I think between the 3 endings, I can also basically publish a book.
I feel like that's for most of the games, though. But RPGs in general are just, you know...
Quite something.
I mean, RPGs are that lengthy that it's... I mean, if you manage to remember everything, it's insane.
Yeah, every menu, every pattern that can happen, every improvisation, variation in stats and the effects of it, especially in Pokemon. Like, I remember Wartab showing me like, oh yeah, what are these notes? Like, oh yeah, this is for this IV range, and that's for when it's under 16, and that's when it's over 29. I'm just like, bro, it's just a speedrun, man. Why do you have a whole textbook, like an academy level textbook with you?
Yeah, but that's how it is.
Like, it's actually impressive how much work goes into speedruns, and it actually really shows on marathon runs as well.
Yeah, but I feel like for like the Pokemon runs, especially what you said, like the IVs and stuff, like there are so many small differences in that, but they matter so much. Like, you know, you would say, oh well, 28 or 29 IV, what's the big deal? But those small differences make certain ranges be like guaranteed or just, you know, not guaranteed.
Speaking of guaranteed, this fight is guaranteed, luckily.
Hey, I like guaranteed fights.
But yeah, I think this is also one of the better times for me to make one of my own announcements, and that is that after this run, I will be taking a break from BSG for personal reasons. This will be until I feel good. Like, I definitely feel like I have a lot of mental things to be fixing, and having BSG on the back burner is going to help me with that. Now, I'm definitely looking forward to go back into saddle. Like, you've heard me be really happy about BSG overall, being with Zeta and all the other guys from scheduling team. And honestly, I think without the scheduling team, this wouldn't be possible. And the fact that Zeta, Grump, and all the other people from scheduling team are extremely tight-knit to a point that one of us can just take a break and the rest can fill in is actually really impressive. But yeah, once I'm back, I'll definitely be going full force again. Don't fret. Everything will be okay. And the same goes for the rest of BSG who let me do this run once again. It definitely always feels good to be able to showcase a run like this. And I feel like this one, especially with all the memories between me, Zeta, and everyone else in BSG, is just a great thing to reminisce, really. And for anyone who wants their own story, do definitely visit a marathon. Like, the stories that come from just visiting a single event can last you a lifetime. And I think with that, I'm okay with transitioning out for now. Thank you so much for having this run once again.
Is that time, by the way?
Oh, that was already time. Yeah, the time was on fade out. Rip.
Okay.
I even forgot to mention. I'm just so used to it. I even hit my split key. I don't have splits. What is wrong with me?
Well, thanks you very much, Sniper, for for running this wonderful game. I wish you a healthy recovery, and hope to see you back rather sooner than later. But yeah, with that, we are gonna go into a quick intermission, and after that, we'll be back with a race of Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. And I will also be, going off. You guys get a new host, and the new host is, let me quickly take a look. It's gonna be Zelda Addicted. She'll be, hosting the next few games, and she'll take care of you all.